colleagues at ENCA done? Just to record on the record that we were waiting promptly at 11 o'clock with the Secretary General at the request of the ENCA. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning. Thank you for being here. You will all know that the ANC held its ordinary National Executive Committee meeting this past weekend. We are here to communicate the outcomes of that meeting. The Secretary General will lead us. Over to you, SG. I thought we should use this.
Thank you very much, Comrade Spokesperson, Comrade Mahlengi. Good morning to ladies and gentlemen of the media. Before I turn to the substance of the meeting, the ANC, on behalf of the National Executive Committee and on behalf of every cadre of our movement, conveys its warmest greetings to the Muslim community of South Africa and across the world on this auspicious occasion of Eid al-Adha, Eid Mubarak. May this season of sacrifice and reflection carry peace, blessing, and renewed purpose into every home and into every heart. The NEC of the ANC, the highest decision-making body of the ANC between national conferences, met in ordinary session at the Protea Hotel at OR Tambo Airport in Ekurhuleni on Saturday 23rd, Sunday 24th May. The NEC had a successful and productive meeting. The NEC is fully united on the conditions that obtain in our country today, and fully united on what lies ahead. We leave that meeting with a single line of march focused on local government elections, November 4, 2026, focused on fixing local government and focused on the work the ANC owes the people of South Africa in this season. The NEC is fully united. The NEC is at work. The ANC is leading in the clean-up of the state institutions of our republic. The NEC received the political overview of the President of the ANC, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, on the central theme of fixing local government. It received the report of the National Working Committee, the report of the Electoral Committee, the consolidated provincial weekly status reports, the report of the Integrity Commission, and other housekeeping matters. The NEC took decisions on every substantive matter the reports placed before it. Today, I will speak to the public-facing decisions of the meeting in the time available. The central frame of the period before the ANC is the local government elections, 163 days from today. The ANC enters that contest with the disciplined work of its structures in every region, every province, and every branch of the ANC, focused on the outcome, a credible, capable, and renewed ANC at the side of every community of our republic. Delivering on local government promise, the Freedom Charter has carried since 1955. Fixing local government is not a slogan for this period. It is the work of the period. The President's political overview placed the matter squarely before the NEC, and the NEC adopted decisions on every operational front. I turn to those decisions now. On local government, the communities, the infrastructure, and the mayors, the NEC has confirmed the priority of the 8 municipalities under active interministerial committee on the management and performance turnaround strategy intervention, and has directed the Northwest Provincial Executive Committee to table a Northwest Stabilization Plan. The Local Government Action Plan, 6 months in operation, has been ratified in its current pillar ratings. The NEC Subcommittee on Local Government Interventions has been directed to segment the work into short-term, medium-term, and long-term horizons within 14 days. On infrastructure, the NEC has directed every deployee of the ANC in government to prioritize the delivery of infrastructure projects in roads, water, and electricity. These are immediate things that touch the lives of our people, where water scarcity is highly felt. The NEC resolved that there should be no community without water, and the immediate implementation of underground borehole and spring water connection must be rolled out with immediate effect. On the cost of living and the 10-point plan for the economy, the pressures of the international situation translate in this country into rising prices at the petrol pump, rising prices on the supermarket shelf, and rising stress in our communities. The National Executive Committee is alive to this reality and to the daily strain it places upon the working and the unemployed people of South Africa. The ANC commends Comrade Enoch Godongwana, Minister of Finance, for the boldness and immediacy with which he read the conjuncture arising from the war on the Islamic Republic of Iran, and for the decisive intervention he took on the fuel levy. That decision has cushioned the consumer at the petrol pump and has cushioned the taxi commuter on the way to work, has cushioned the small trader at the loading dock, and has cushioned every household for whom transport and fuel are a major contributor to the cost of living. This is the ANC government at work, reading the international conjuncture in real time and acting in defense of the working and the unemployed people of our country. The NEC further resolved to redouble the work of the ANC in government on the 10-point plan for the economy, to drive the South African economy from its present growth path onto a job-creating growth trajectory. The 10-point plan is the operational program that carries the economy, policy direction of the 55th National Conference and the National General Council 2025 base document into the work of the state. Its pillars: fixed investment acceleration, infrastructure delivery, industrial policy, township and rural economy development, the just energy transition, the digital economy, food security, BRICS Plus and continental trade integration, skills and the demographic dividend, and macroeconomic stability are the work of the period. The ANC will measure itself in this conjuncture by the speed and the seriousness with which the plan moves from paper into lived improvement in the conditions of the people. On economic transformation and broad-based black economic empowerment, the NEC commends the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development for the boldness with which she has heard the line of march set by the January 8 statement of 2026, that this is the year to fix local government and to push harder on the transformation of the economy, and for the directness with which she has acted upon it in the legal sector. Broad-based black economic empowerment is the law of the Republic. It applies to every professional sector, to legal practice, to medical practice, to engineering, to accounting, to architecture, to the consulting professions, and across every domain in which the economy of our country is conducted. Income equality and the equity of ownership are not optional ornaments of our constitutional order. They are the substance of the second radical phase of the National Democratic Revolution, as confirmed at the 55th National Conference at Nazareth in 2017 and reaffirmed in the National General Council-based document. The ANC carries this work forward without apology and without retreat. Where the law is in place, it must be applied. Where the law requires sharpening, it will be sharpened. The ANC commends the minister, and we commend every comrade in government and in the institutions of the state who is now placing this line of march into effect. On the cleaning up of state institutions, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Criminality, Political Interference, and Corruption in the criminal justice system, headed by retired Constitutional Court Justice Fikile Mbalula, will table its second interim report to the President of the Republic on Friday, 29 May 2026, this week. The final report of the Commission is due on Sunday, 31st August 2026. The Parliamentary Ad hoc Committee on the allegations related to the South African police continues its work. The ANC reaffirms, in the clearest terms, the leading role of the ANC in the cleanup of state institutions of our Republic. The Madlanga Commission was established by the President of the Republic. The Ad hoc Committee is led by members of Parliament of the ANC, the National Prosecuting Authority, the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, the Hawks, the South African Revenue Service, the Asset Forfeiture Unit, the Financial Intelligence Center, and the Auditor General, with its expanded material irregularity powers, are doing the work that the country requires of them. It is the ANC that builds the laws fighting corruption. It is the ANC that strengthens those laws and never weakens them. It is the ANC that is even prepared to have matters that may be reputationally damaging aired in public because we are serious about renewal. It is the ANC that is the principal author of the laws now fighting corruption in our country. The Prevention and Combating of Corruption Activities Act of 2004, the Prevention of Organized Crime Act of 1998, the Financial Intelligence Center Act of 2001, the Protected Disclosures Act of 2000, the Public Audit Amendment Act of 2018 with its material irregularity powers, the National Strategic Intelligence Act, and many others. It is the ANC that continues to strengthen these laws and not weaken them. It is the ANC that is prepared to have matters which may be reputationally damaging aired in public, because we are serious about renewal and because we are serious about ridding ourselves and our country of all forms of corruption and unethical conduct. It is the ANC at times alone and at times together with the people of South Africa that has built this country, that has built its constitutional framework, and that has built its democratic institutions. We say openly that the ANC will return the South African Police Service to a constitutional footing as a service department of and for the people of the Republic. The demilitarization of the structures and the uniform of the South African Police Service is the agenda the ANC carries into the period ahead and into the work of the criminal justice system, reform that the Madlanga Commission and the Ad hoc Committee will speak to. On the national health insurance, the Constitutional Court delivered judgment on May 18, 2026 in solidarity, trade union and others against Minister of Health, declaring the certificate of need provisions at sections 36 to 40 of the National Health Act 1961 of 2003 unconstitutional. The NEC has reaffirmed in the clearest terms the ANC's full support for the National Health Insurance Act 15 of 2024 and for the phased and lawful implementation now underway. Comrade Mutual Edi, Health Minister, is commended for the disciplined manner in which the department continues with the implementation. The certificate of need provisions sit in a different act from the National Health Insurance Act. The unconstitutional declaration of certain provisions in one act does not in law or in fact displays the constitutional validity and the lawful implementation of the National Health Insurance Act 15 of 2024. The NEC commends the Minister of Health and the entire Department of Health for the steady, disciplined work being carried out across the public health system in this period, on the rollout of the National Health Insurance, on the country's vigilance against the regional outbreak of Ebola in the equatorial countries to our north, on the tuberculosis program, which remains the largest national tuberculosis program in the world, on the continuing gains in the combat against the human virus. The ANC reaffirms the historic position of the ANC, drawn from the Freedom Charter of 1955 and given constitutional form in Section 27 of the Constitution of the Republic, a publicly funded, universal, equitable system of health care for all who live in our country. The NEC spent substantial time discussing and evaluating the question of the present mobilization against unlawful migrant communities in our country. The NEC finds that the issues raised by the activist community are in the main genuine complaints and genuine demands. The NEC that have emerged across our country are in the main demanding a visible government and a visible state. The ANC is calling for our government to act with a sense of visible purpose on the issues that touch our people directly. The NEC does not characterize the majority of these activities as xenophobic, because xenophobic is something that equals to hate crime and is condemned universally by laws of the United Nations. And we believe that South Africans are not xenophobic. There are those among these groupings who gravitate to hatred, and which is dangerous for our country. We cannot, as a country, be proud of being labeled as a country that is xenophobic, a country that fought apartheid and defeated it with the support of others, and apartheid defined as a heinous crime against humanity, the same as xenophobia. That is why the anti-racist conference was held here in South Africa and adopted important resolutions in our country in Durban. The NEC understands the pressures on our economy and on our communities arising from unlawful immigration. And the NEC shares the concerns of the people of South Africa on these matters. The NEC, however, cautions the organizers and the leaders of the ANC to be vigilant against third force infiltration of their ranks. The discipline of lawful protest is the discipline of every South African in our democracy. The conduct of vigilantism, hate speech, and intimidation that the country has seen in some of its streets and some of its clinic doors and some of its school gates and some of its factory floors over the past period is in its proper legal characterization the conduct that falls within the Prevention and Combating of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech Act, Act 16 of 2003. A child that seeks education must be supported by all of us. A child that seeks immunization against measles or polio must be given the necessary support. We are not a cruel people. A child that does not get these vaccines will be a danger to the community. The ANC supports the application of hate crimes and hate speech acts by the National Prosecuting Authority and by the South African Police on every act that meets its provisions. When we protest and when we mount pressure movements, which is our constitutional right and the standing tradition of our struggle, we urge our people to balance their actions with the discipline of legality. We cannot fight unlawful conduct in a democracy by ourselves engaging in unlawful conduct. We must together safeguard the reputation, the image, and the stability of our country so that we do not end up causing more harm than the harm we set out to address. We are a great people among the peoples of the world. We are called upon by our forebears to make demands but to remain humane, to protest but to carry Ubuntu in our hands, to agitate progressively but to remember our own long road to freedom. And the road our continent walked with us on that journey, to leave weapons at home and not carry them in public, to respect our traditions like the traditions of Amabuto and not misuse these great heritage instruments in a manner that causes disrepute to our pride as South Africans. Let me be clear, the demands placed on our government to act decisively on the question of border management, on the national security issues that arise, on the strain on our people and our communities, at the confluence of unlawful immigration and all its manifestations, from human trafficking to illicit trade, from crime to the corruption of government officials in Home Affairs and the South African Police Service. These demands are genuine, and these demands are real, and the government is at work on every one of them. The NEC further calls upon the private sector, upon the employers, upon the recruitment agencies, upon every enterprise operating on the soil of the Republic to adhere without exception to the labor laws and to the immigration laws of the country. The recruitment of undocumented workers in order to suppress wages, to circumvent the Labor Relations Act, to evade the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, to undermine the sectoral determinations of the Minister of Employment and Labor, and to displace the rightful claims of South African workers and of legally resident workers on the job market is criminal. It is unpatriotic. It is a direct subversion of the laws of our country and of the spirit of national reconstruction that the Constitution of the Republic enjoins upon every sector in our economy. The ANC places the private sector squarely on notice. The ANC in government will pursue, through the Department of Employment and Labor and through the National Prosecuting Authority, through the South African Revenue Service, and through the Labor Inspectorate, every enterprise that profits from this practice. The cost of compliance with the law is borne by the lawful employer and by the lawful worker. The ANC government will ensure that those who externalize that cost onto our communities and onto our country pay the full weight of the law. The President of the Republic has announced the rolling out of 10,000 additional posts in the Department of Employment and Labour to be filled and trained as labour inspectors. The President of the Republic announced the rolling out of tens of thousands of additional posts, I wish to repeat, in the Department of Employment and Labour. These 10,000 new positions will be filled and trained as labour inspectors. There will be South African inspectors empowered to intercept the unlawful employment of any person not authorized by South African law to be employed by enterprises operating in our country. Where an employer is found undercutting our labor laws, the inspectorate will act. We ask our people once again to refrain from taking the law into their own hands. When we do so, we allow critics to call us names, shame us as vigilante society. The Border Management Authority has commenced a build program to upgrade at least 6 of our principal border posts and the surrounding infrastructure. The upgrade introduces technology and a modernized interface capable of tracking and tracing any tourist who overstays the lawful period of stay and any person who enters for a short-term stay and then declines to leave. The technology includes smart drone capability operating in real time, monitoring every kilometer of South African border. The Special Investigating Unit continues its mandate to rid the Department of Home Affairs of officials who place our people at risk by selling undeserved official documentation. The Hawks and the National Prosecuting Authority continue their cases. The work on the South African Police Service is publicly before the country on the television screens to rid the service of bribe takers and of officers involved in syndicate crime and to move them from the service directly into the cells of the Department of Correctional Services. The NEC urges the Department of Home Affairs to consider, with appropriate agency, the reintroduction of quota limits on immigration intake. Our country must decide transparently and in the public interest how many additional persons that means at its disposal can lawfully and humanly accommodate. The instrument exists in our law, Section 19 of the Immigration Act, 13 of 2002, provides the framework. The NEC also encourages South Africans to engage in the public participation processes of Parliament on bills now before the legislature. Among these bills are bills that will protect the rights of every South African to create and to operate the enterprise. The constitutional right at Section 22 of our Constitution and bills that will close the route by which a person travels through several safe countries on the journey to our republic and only applies for asylum or refugee status on arrival here. The principle of first safe country is a principle of international refugee law, and the legislative reform now underway will give it operational effect in South Africa. And there are many examples we can give. When we got Palestinians coming to our country via Israel and dropped in our country, just like that. And therefore, this particular principle did not actually apply in that particular instance. So tendencies of infiltration and undermining our national security architecture must be taken into consideration. The President of the Republic of South Africa travels to Egypt for the mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union held at El Alamein from Wednesday 24th to Saturday 27th June 2026. The ANC, through the government of the Republic, will table at El Alamein the foundations of a continental compact on migration in Africa. Because the question of illegal migration, immigration, and migration is not only our problem, it's a global and continental issue. A framework paper that moves the continental conversation from the registration of accusation to the registration of shared responsibility. The compact is the African answer to a continental question. We will not allow our country to be reduced to a single line of caricature on a question that is the continent's question and the world's question together. The NEC urges every provincial premier in the Republic to activate a quick response team on immigrant tensions in their province, working in concurrence with SABC, the Prosecuting Authority and the Department of Home Affairs, the Department of Social Development, the Provincial Disaster Management Centers, and the National Disaster Management Center. On the evictions in the Western Cape, the NEC has received the matter of the farm laborers' evictions taking place in the Western Cape. The Secretary General's office will further engage the Western Cape Provincial Task Team of the ANC to develop and advance a program of action on the evictions question. The ANC does not stand by while the people of our republic are removed from their land and from their homes. On the international situation, Iran, Palestine, and Lebanon, the NEC reflected on the international situation, on the urgency of a just, durable, and political resolution to the multiple conflicts now bearing down on humanity. The path of war is not the path of solution. There are people who say we preoccupy ourselves with things outside the country, but we're not concerned about what happens here. What happens in Iran today has affected us in terms of the cost of living. And that is why we talk about cushioning an ordinary South African in terms of the fuel levy by government. The war on the Islamic Republic of Iran is a matter of the gravest concern to the ANC and to our country. The ANC, in the tradition of Comrade Oliver Tambo and the Harare Declaration of 1989, calls on all parties, the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the government of the US and Israel, the governments of Arab states, the government of the major powers, and the multilateral institutions seated under the United Nations Charter to choose the path of negotiation and to set aside the path of arms. The escalation of armed action between great power blocs in the Middle East places the global economy under strain, places African economies under strain, and places ordinary households in our country under strain through the rising cost of fuel, the rising cost of staples, and the rising cost of credit. The NEC commends Comrade Ronald Lamola, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, for the discipline and the principled clarity with which South African diplomacy carried itself at the recent BRICS Foreign Ministers meeting. The ANC places on record its appreciation to the Minister and his team for the work that placed our country firmly on the side of dialogue, of multilateralism, of the United Nations Charter, and of the rule of international law in these trying times. The NEC further calls for a political solution to the continuing war on the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank. The ANC reaffirms the standing position of the South African government before the International Court of Justice in the matter of South Africa against Israel. The genocide must end, the occupation must end, and the two-state solution must be brought into effect. The ANC notes with deepest pain the continued invasion of the sovereign territory of Lebanon and the resulting suffering inflicted upon the civilian populations of southern Lebanon. We call on all parties to seek a peaceful, negotiated solution to the difficulties of the region. On provincial task teams in Eastern Cape and in Gauteng, the special meeting of the NEC convened in Cape Town on Wednesday, 13th May 2026, took the decision that provincial task teams must be established in the Eastern Cape and in Gauteng, in place of the provincial executive committees, whose term, in particular in the Eastern Cape, have expired without a provincial conference having set. The special NEC left the implementation and the formulation of the membership to the National Working Committee. The NEC that met this past weekend has noted the compositions and placed before it. The compositions placed before it. For the avoidance of doubt, the governments of the Eastern Cape and Gauteng are not affected by these organizational arrangements of the ANC. The Comrade Premier of Gauteng, Comrade Panyaza, and the Comrade Premier of the Eastern Cape, Comrade Oscar Mabuyane, and the members of the executive councils in both provinces continue to discharge their constitutional responsibilities. The provincial legislatures continue to sit. The work of the state continues. The provincial task team in each province will carry the ANC through the local government elections and will, at the earliest procedurally ripe moment, convene the postponed provincial conference in the ordinary course. On the regional ANC conference season, Mangaung as last, Mangaung Regional Conference will have to tick all the boxes in terms of its sitting. If not, it will be evaluated by the National Executive Committee deployees together with the province in terms of the suitability of that conference. If it does not sit, it will sit after the elections. On the Integrity Commission report, and that work has been undertaken, and the report will be placed before the Secretary General today in relation to that conference. On the Integrity Commission report, the NEC received and considered the report of the African National Congress Integrity Commission on matters concerning 5 named comrades. The NEC thanks and salutes the members of the Integrity Commission, which stand at the core of the ANC's renewal program and at the core of the upholding of ethical conduct and good governance from within our ranks. The NEC fully endorsed the report of the Integrity Commission and its recommendations on each of the comrades named. Further to that endorsement, the NEC resolved to take an additional step. The NEC shall refer all 5 matters to the National Disciplinary Committee of the ANC for action under the constitutional disciplinary process of the ANC, with the NEC itself serving as the complainant. The Office of the Secretary General will give effect to the resolution in the ordinary course. The 5 comrades whose matters have been referred to the National Disciplinary Committee with the NEC as the complainant are Comrade Sisisi Tolashe, Comrade Fikile, Comrade Mkwane, Comrade Kalipa, and Comrade Zungu. The constitutional disciplinary process will run in the ordinary course. The National Executive Committee commends in the strongest terms the ANC Integrity Commission for the depth, the fearlessness, and the discipline with which it has discharged its mandate with the ANC. The Integrity Commission is the conscience of the ANC. Its work, performed without favor and without fear, is one of the principal instruments by which the ANC renews itself and holds itself to the standard the people of South Africa expect of it. The ANC places on record its profound appreciation to the chairperson of the Integrity Commission and to every commissioner who has served the ANC and the country through this organ of self-correction. On the tripartite alliance and the so-called Conference of the Left, the ANC reaffirms, as the NEC has reaffirmed in every sitting since the founding of the tripartite alliance, the relationship between the ANC and the South African Communist Party, and the broader alliance of the ANC, the SACP, the Congress of South African Trade Unions, and SANCO. The alliance has stood the test of time. The alliance has stood the test of personalities. The alliance has been founded since its analytical articulation at Morogoro in 1969 and reaffirmed at Kabwe in 1985 on the principle of unity and struggle against the enemy of the people. The relationship between the components of the alliance is dialectical and complementary. The ANC is the leading force of the broad National Liberation Front. The South African Communist Party carries the vanguard role of the working class within the front. That is the position of the ANC it has carried since 1969, and that is the position the ANC carries today. On the so-called Conference of the Left convened by the SACP from Friday, 29 May in Boksburg, the ANC was invited to participate. The ANC, after careful deliberation in its National Executive Committee meeting, chose to stay away. The ANC resolved, the National Executive Committee resolved to support the position not to attend this conference. The ANC will not participate in this conference. We have, however, invited the leadership of the SACP to a principal-level engagement on the underlying questions in the standing discipline of the alliance. We say openly to our country, the ANC does not consider this convening to be a conference of the left. The composition is itself the political argument, a gathering that proposes to seat chambers of commerce alongside the Bolshevik Party, the Umkhonto weSizwe Party alongside AZAPO, business formations alongside trade unions. It's not a left formation in any received meaning of the term. It is a coalition of negation, united by what it stands against, namely the ANC in government, and unable to articulate the positive program by which the working class and the people will advance under its banner. It is a political project dressed in theoretical clothing. The ANC notes with seriousness the matter deserves that the convening forces have chosen to associate themselves at this gathering with formations whose principal leadership figures were identified by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, the Zondo Commission, as central to the wrecking of South African institutions. The ANC built the South African Revenue Service, the National Prosecuting Authority, the Hawks, the State Security Agency, Eskom, Transnet, and the public procurement system across the state. The ANC places that association on the public record. The alliance stands. The ANC remains the center of the broad National Liberation Front and of the broad democratic and patriotic forces of our republic. The work of this period is the work of the National Democratic Revolution. The answer is in every branch general meeting, in every ward, in every municipality, and in every street of the republic in which the ANC has stood, stands, and will stand. The ANC is at work on the story of our country that it deserves. On the story our country deserves. The NEC reflected in this meeting on the gap that exists between the objective record of progress in the living conditions of South Africans over the past 3 decades and the lived experience of many of our people today. Both readings are real. The objective record carries the story of millions of houses delivered, of millions of additional South Africans connected to piped water and to electricity, of the National Health Insurance Act now in lawful implementation, of free education at our schools and at our TVET colleges, of one of the largest social grant systems on the African continent. The lived experience is shaped by the cost of living, by unemployment, by crime, and by corruption. Every one of this is real, and every one of this the ANC reads carefully. The NEC has directed the communications work of the ANC to carry both readings into the country at the same time. We do not deny the lived experience of our people. We do not concede the objective record of what has been built since 1994. The honest conversation with our people is the conversation that holds both at once, not one at the exclusive to the other, as it happens in the national debate in our country. The emphasis is failure, 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 but it does not say this much also has been done. On bereavements, the NEC observed a moment of silence for Comrade Bushimape, former Premier of the Northwest Province and a cadre of the ANC, a long and faithful member of the African National Congress and standing in the ANC. We have conveyed and directed our message through our Deputy President to the family and to the mourners who were at the funeral in the past weekend. NEC also observed a moment of silence for all comrades whose passing has been recorded in the period under review. The campaign rhythm to 4th November. Members of the media, the work of every branch and every region will now converge on preparing for local government elections. The ANC carries into this period the standing inheritance of its canon, the Freedom Charter, on which the ANC has rested for over 7 decades, at which we shall again commemorate on Freedom Charter Day, this 26 June 2026. The strategy and tactics tradition from Rogoro, 1969, through Kabwe, 1985, through to the National General Council-based document of 2025, the NDR as the strategic objective, the broad National Liberation Front as the alliance through which we carry the moment, the discipline of the cadre as the instrument by which the line of march is held. And this is what we then characterize as to be what will be the campaign rhythm to the 4th of November 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary General, for that statement. At this point, I will turn to yourselves, colleagues, and looking forward to your questions. Okay, could I just see more hands there? Okay, I'll start on the right. The gentleman, if you could just identify your media house and proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Lunga from the Academy. Just one, how...
It's the suit, Lunga, sorry.
Just on the issue of the application for mayorship, how would you receive that? Is there maybe names that are coming from other political parties that maybe don't mention them, but other people that are coming from other political parties that would have applied to the mayoral candidates of the ANC? And secondly, on the issue of Kanipo, what exactly was it taken to the Integrity Commission for, and why was it taken to the DC? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go, just behind you. I think it's Feria.
Thank you very much. Feria Hafuji from the Daily Maverick. May I please check whether the NEC resolved that regional secretaries of the party may not hold positions in government, that they can't have government jobs, because we must focus on party in relation to the Integrity Commission? And then could you tell us how many people and perhaps their names applied from outside to be mayors of the ANC citizen towns? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I proceed in the same row, SABC.
What is the main thrust of rejecting to go to the particular conference of the left, noting that in a province like KwaZulu-Natal, you were in an MK party that will, excuse my language, totally obliterate you at the polls, noting that you didn't want to vote in Sundays, Ward 2, but noting that in 2024, in that district alone, the second biggest voting district, you only won 2 wards in Kamati. You lost all the votes in the table, so why wouldn't you go to a conference of the left to engage with other political parties that you may ultimately need at the polls post these elections that are upcoming? On the issue with the protests on March, are you stating as the ANC that you support this process? Because right now we are not clear whether you support or against. Are you for these particular protests that are currently happening? Thank you.
Thank you. Next to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra Koleka from the Sunday Times. On the local government front, SG, is the party with the search for mayoral candidates outside the party's ranks? Is the ANC not concerned about the perception it may create that you no longer have confidence in the caliber of candidates that you have groomed as the party? Secondly, how are you planning to convince ANC structures, branches to back import candidates? And thirdly, how do you plan to hold people that you are now going to bring in as mayoral candidates? How do you plan to hold them accountable if they are not card-carrying members and that they don't subscribe to your constitution via discipline? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to just stay there, this side. Yeah, please go ahead. ENCA.
I just want to understand why you missed the 5-day deadline to submit the names of nomination of nominees who will be in the impeachment committee. Does this give credence to the weekend reports suggesting that there was a disagreement between yourself as the Secretary General and the Chief? Also, you accused some of the civic organizations of hate speech and all other things. You also accused the particularly private sector of employing illegal immigrants. What blame does the ANC government have given the fact that it is the primary duty of the government to secure our borders? In all this immigration mess, what amount of blame to take as the ANC? Then lastly, you also say there will be thousands of inspectors, labor inspectors. Is this not reactionary if you look at the fact that the complaints have always been there? It's as if you are only realizing this as a problem now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't see any hand this side, so I will move this side to this side. I'll start with yourself, my brother. No? Okay, yeah.
Well, thank you, Silva Sivira from UFM. Staying on the immigration issue, you mentioned that about 10,000 inspectors will be deployed by the presidency through Department of Labor. When do you expect to start the process, and when do you expect to have completed? This could be a long process.
Okay, thank you. We move on.
Good afternoon, SG. Right here from Netwerk Viering to Winter. SG, just a couple of questions from my side. Where's the line between being patriotic and being xenophobic on this issue of illegal immigration? Because these organizations are arguing that they're putting South Africans first. And then just on March, the leader of that group described the current situation as they basically war on this illegal immigration issue. Is that characterization correct, SG? And how do you see that? Do you think the ANC will be heard by at the ballot box by this illegal immigration issue and its stance? And then just on the ANC in Gauteng, what still needs to be done for the staff team to be removed here in Gauteng? Do you not trust the Premier Panyaza Lesotho enough to lead this province and the structure of the ANC? Or what still needs to be done for the staff team to be removed? And then just on the father issue, did the President have any message for the NEC members, or maybe thanking them for the support that is being given on that issue? Thank you, SG.
Thank you very much. I think we're done with this round. And I'm going to hand over to the Secretary General.
No, thank you very much for the questions. Lunga, Mail and Guardian, on the application for mayors. First, if you want to become a mayor, you are a good South African, you agree with the ANC policies and support the ANC, being a citizen, you will equally accept membership of the ANC. And you will avail yourself. And on the basis of that, you will then be considered for participation. This has happened in all our processes of selecting councillors, particularly at ward level. We started this in the last 2 elections. All our councillor selection processes involve what is called community participation. So this is not new. So we've got people who are councillors in our communities who are a true embodiment of people's consultation and engagement in South Africa. And this happens under the banner of the African National Congress. They have embraced fully the ANC, and the ANC have gone to community, and the community says, we want this candidate to be our candidate under the banner of our vehicle called the African National Congress. And that's what has happened. So we are following the same pattern when it comes to mayors. But with regard to mayors now, it is something new. We're introducing what is called, by mandate of the NGC and the NEC, central control of mayors. If you look at the budgets of the country, in particular the metros and the secondary cities, is huge. And that is what shapes the local economy in the different provinces. So you will need a person who have gone through the eye of the needle with all capabilities that that individual can possess to run a city like Johannesburg, rather than just leave it to chance. And that is why we infused centrality, popular participation, but at the same time, headhunting that look also to people who've got skills and capacity to run these cities and drive development and service delivery in those cities. And that's what we are doing. And in approaching this election, of course, it is something that is not, far-fetched. It is based on experience. When you are an incumbent and you have been leading, you learn from both your weaknesses and successes and embrace them in the new pathway of doing things. We believe that we need to take control and take it very seriously as to who becomes the mayor of the city of Johannesburg. Not for any political purpose like populism or anything, but we know the vehicle will remain the African National Congress. But at the end of the day, who becomes the mayor, the qualities of that person, and all of that are key. And that is why it was said that the top 7 will then interview these people. We launched the process, and then we are now embarking on the stage where we are shortlisting and starting the interviews. And by June 26, we'll make public all our mayors in the different cities who will campaign for the African National Congress. These people, we expect them to present their manifestos, among others, when they come to us. That is part of the ingredient. Your understanding of the city you are contesting and what you think over and above the manifesto, what you are capable of doing. Your clearest understanding of the city, yourself as an individual, and what you think you are capable of and bringing to the party in terms of what you think you can do. Of course, we prioritize residents of those cities to lead in this particular instance. Kalipa, in the ANC, Kalipa was found guilty by a court of law, and then he paid a fine. So he must appear before the Integrity Commission, because the charge of all these comrades is disrepute. Rule 25 of the ANC Constitution. So because he has been found guilty and all of that, he appeared before the Integrity Commission, and he has been found to have brought the party into disrepute. So the NEC referred his matter to the disciplinary process of the organization. So that's what happened. You must understand there are processes of the country in terms of institutions of the state. They run parallel, but what the Integrity Commission does, it does not run ahead. It looks at what has brought the ANC into disrepute, the ethical conduct, the moral standing by your actions. Haven't you compromised the moral standing and ethical standing of the African National Congress? That's what they do. They are not a disciplinary committee. A disciplinary committee then look at you and decide on the charge. And it will decide that no, at the end, this is the punishment you need, and all of that. Of course, if you are not found guilty, then there's no need to be charged about disrepute, because you have proven yourself beyond reasonable doubt that you are not guilty of the charge that has been brought against you. But we tend to give those processes a chance to run their course. But at the same time, we have created checks and balances in the party that look at these matters. And it's not only these 5, there are many cases that are before the Integrity Commission that have been dealt with as we speak. And that work is ongoing. Feriel, that also interlinks with your question about, I think I missed 2 of your questions, about what charges were these comrades facing. First, it's not a charge. You present yourself on the basis of reports. You present yourself voluntarily before the Integrity Commission, or you are summoned. All these comrades presented themselves to the Integrity Commission. Sisisi Tolashe was referred to the Integrity Commission by the Secretary General to deal with that matter there. The rest of the others, Mkwani was referred to the Integrity Commission by some structures in Sidibeng. And Zungu is a councillor here in Joburg. He's also been involved in a number of things there in Johannesburg. So he was also referred to the Integrity Commission. Fikile presented himself voluntarily to explain the Matlala, who's that? Yeah, Matlala matter. And so on. So once they present themselves, they have not been charged. They have been found to have brought the party into disrepute. These 5. So the matter is now referred to formally charge them to the disciplinary committee. So the disciplinary committee will then decide what is appropriate for them. But already the Integrity Commission has actually found them to have brought the party into disrepute. There are two others.
The regional secretary is holding up.
Yes, regional secretaries, it has been agreed that they must all be full-time, and the SG must enforce that with immediate effect. No regional secretary who is expected to be full-time in the party must hold public service office or be full-time elsewhere. All of them. So we will write to all the provinces after the NEC meeting, and then we'll give them a time frame. Probably next month, everyone who has been serving elsewhere either than being full-time in the party will have to resume their full-time position in the party very soon. That's all, ne? Okay. Samkele, we've said a lot about the Conference of the Left. Ideologically, we don't think it's a forum of the left. We think it's just a project of people coming together and then wanting to talk about everything under general. But over and above that, this Conference of the Left, to us ideologically, outside the ANC and the alliance, it's not left. If you look at the composition of people who are there, we characterize here that that can't be something that constitutes left. Yeah, civil society forum of people who are going to come together and verbose, you can call it that. But left is debatable, and we make that respectfully. It's not. So, besides, we think we will have to take the Communist Party to task about that. But it's not a matter we are prepared to spend time on, to be arguing. We are not going to attend that conference. We've received the invite, and we'll write to the Communist Party and tell them that. Anyway, we were invited to speak for 5 minutes in that conference. It is not a platform that we think the real left of our country deserve to preoccupy themselves with it. The terrain of the elections, including alignment with political parties in this terrain, is different from left. We have seen in the situation of South African electoral landscape, working with political parties that ideologically do not belong to the frame of being called left. But we have worked with them because it's a result of the outcome of the election. And some of them are splinter groups, individuals who come from the ANC, join and or form political parties. So we have worked in local councils with political parties that are not left, and we have formed coalition governments with them. So the notion that you come together because we are left, it has long been thrown out of the window by those who are proponents of the left conference today. When we went to them, they told us that you worked with the National Party, you embraced the National Party and all of that, so don't tell us not to work with the DA. It happened. When Johannesburg was lost in the hands of the ANC and Tshwane, we were told by people who call themselves left that we must not bring that notion into the picture about left politics because there is nothing left about the composition of coalition politics and all of that. Their strategic objective is to defeat and destroy the ANC. They have failed to destroy the ANC, and they will never destroy it, even going forward. When the ANC invited them to a GNU, they started to play the rhetoric of left. We said, no, man, there's no left there. Say something, because we are working with everybody at the present moment. You even work with, if the ANC was to be weak to a point where it can't form government with anyone, wiped out in the elections, we believe they will dance on our carcass. So there is nothing left about anything that is being constituted now. And we're not going to spend our time and energy on it, so we are not attending that conference. Look, we are not against, our statement is not against or for March and March. We're not spending time on that. We're spending time on the diagnosis of what is the challenge before us as a country. We've got the challenge of illegal immigrants, which manifests itself by way of human trafficking, drugs, and all of that. And it has been with us for quite some time. And we have said that this challenge arises because of, among others, borders that are porous. People just come in and out of the Republic and so on. Hence, we have worked very hard over the years to create what is called border management, which is hard at work. Whilst these protests are visiting us, this work is being implemented. So there is no reaction to that. Whilst this matter is visiting us, the question of labor inspectors was introduced and announced by the President at the State of the Nation. It's not a reaction. It's something that has already been implemented. Among other issues that have been explored is the question of how do we deal with the question of ensuring that in the context of our laws, even small businesses are preserved for South Africans, like it happens in other countries. Here in our country, even spaza shops are owned by foreigners, worse off illegal foreigners. You go to the rural areas of our country, in the countryside, you get there, it is written Mukwena. Then the person who comes out there is from another country, maybe Bangladesh and so on. Hey, Mukwena, oh, where does he come from? And so on. But worse off, they are undocumented. They run businesses. They killed all businesses in the local economy. I come from Botshabelo, the dusty street of Botshabelo. That area flourished with supermarkets, small businesses. When I go to the township now in Botshabelo, all those businesses are owned by foreigners, undocumented, illegal. And when I ask what happened to Ntates Banban and all of that who was owning this business, he went under. These people, their modus operandi, including their flourishing businesses and how they displayed small businesses in the township, it's a security story that we've been dealing with for years. The wholesale capacity that they've got is unmatched. So an old man or an old woman or a family owning a small business in the township disappear in the township, and then some guy comes, and then people go there, pensioners, they take things on debt. The business is not going under, it's flourishing. And we even found in the process that they are selling fake things. We found these stories in Skukuni, in Limpopo, where people were being sold fake things, poison, expired goods, and all of that. That is the reality that has faced us. So the role of government and the state is to tighten the laws to protect its citizenry without degenerating to a point where there are protests that are exploited by people with nefarious intentions. We're not focused on March and March. We are just putting policy before South Africans to say the state, the democratic state, must intervene and at the same time in terms of laws, but at the same time in terms of protecting the citizenry. If that does not happen, anyone can call himself a leader and emerge on a popular front and be funded by people with dubious interest to our country, to hurt our country's image. It's not good for South Africa to be projected in the international landscape as a xenophobic people. You will know, most of you who travel abroad, people love this country. Yes, we've got problems, but we don't want to compare with others. The question of illegal immigration is global. Donald Trump has gone to the House, and they gave him billions of rands to execute what is called ICE. People have been chased up and down, arrested in America, and all of that, and been victimized, and so on. We don't want to degenerate to that level. We want money and laws that protect us. And we illustrate in our statement what are those laws that we need to implement. We are not concerned about much and much. They are raising an important issue that is in the public domain that is well known to all of us. I was a minister of police. If I were to take a practical an example, we were working here around the city center. Herman Mashaba was a mayor for a few days before the DA ejected him. We went here, buildings are full of people who are undocumented here. So if you were to walk in the streets here and somebody pickpocket you, and we chase that person and he get into that building, we will never know who did this crime. They are undocumented, unregistered, and it's a national security threat. So government must not allow this anarchy in our country to engulf us as though we don't have a state. We must put down the state, not boots and all of that, but through the laws, and they must be enforced. Now, all the other issues, we will be able to deal with them because we cannot afford our country to be characterized as a country that hates Africans, and that is xenophobic. Just by looking at Samkelo in his color and being very black, then you decide that, no, Lomfo, I uvelap. You know, there is a stage in this country where police were going in the streets and look at people. Do you remember that? When there was what is that place of Home Affairs? Lindela, where people were taken in Lindela by buses, and then they look at your face. If you can't speak properly, you speak Venda or you speak Tsonga, they take you to Lindela. Hey man, I'm from Venda, and so on, and all of that. And just the tribalistic thing, and hurting ourselves in the process. People are protesting. Uvumuntu to protest. Aswafuna Mashangan. Shangans are part of us. These are our people. What have Shangans done to us? In this protest, you hear people say, hey, Aswafuna Mashangan. Now you want us to keep quiet in the name that we are protesting. No, that can't be right. We can't allow infested tribalism that undermines our unity to basically escalate in our country like that. Yes, people have got the right to protest. Government, in terms of its responsibility, must cushion its citizens and all of that. I see the president of Rwanda the other day said that, I don't understand, he mentioned countries, what do they want here because there's no war there. In Rwanda, said by the head of state. And then I've seen Ghana, I've been to Ghana. I've seen small businesses being closed down, particularly from Nigerians because they are just from next door. you know, and then they close them down and they say that, no, small businesses here in Ghana are for Ghanaians, and so on. So we must never allow ourselves to be characterized as xenophobic by failure to enforce our laws. And be clear, we have a problem in South Africa of illegal, undocumented people who come to our country. And that is a big risk of national security. But at the same time, there is a danger that this situation can degenerate and become a state of lawlessness, and people just get funded. You can see some of them, they are well funded, these NGOs and so on, and the people that lead them. But the minute you touch on them, you touch the raw nerve, because people are afraid to tell the principle and the truth because of elections. South Africans are not xenophobic. They don't hate other Africans. The issue that we challenge and agree with, we've got a problem of undocumented people here, and they are not just African. Even though they are in majority in African, there's even white undocumented people here. They are sophisticated because of the color of their skin. So some of them own shops, Hyde Park and everywhere else, but they don't have documentation and so on. So we need to deal with that. And government need to lead that issue with confidence. On Sunday Times, on the issue of candidates who are not ANC candidates, I've answered that question, that we can have people here, but they must accept the membership of the ANC. And at the same time, we're broadening the net. We're looking at people who are skillful. At the same time, who've got the capacity to lead some of these metros in our country. So it's not a question of not having confidence on ANC members. No. We do have people now who are councillors, who came here, who are just mere supporters of the ANC. And we identified them, and they were identified by their communities. They have accepted membership, and they are leading brilliantly, most of them. They are loyal, they are disciplined, they are uncorruptible. Society loves them. They are always available to do the work. And that is what we embrace as the ANC. ENCA missed deadline. You know, we're very busy with many things. Let me explain to you, as the media, and I'm appealing to you today. If I'm Secretary General of the ANC, I'm the main source of information. And I tell you as a journalist that the story you are coming up with, you are asking me, is not true. Respect me. I'm the Secretary General of the ANC. I'm the boss here. I know others don't like it when I said, I'm the boss. I was elected. When you talk about Luthuli House, the face of it is me. I come after Matamela and Mashatile. I'm the boss here, Luthuli House, boss. That is why I'm in a tie today. You can see, this is the boss. And I'm telling you, I'm not lying to you, I'm telling you that, how can I be defied by a chief whip? That story doesn't hold. Chief whip is employed. Not by me, but by me, by many ways. He accounts to me. And he's a wonderful chief whip. He can't defy me. So we have a center here. We didn't miss the deadline. When we finalized our names, it was already late. Remember, in the ANC, we consult and all of that. So we did our work, and then we finalized the names by Friday. And then I asked him, Mdu said, no, I will submit. I said, are we not breaking the rules? What was the thing? He said, no, we are fine. We have submitted our names now. And then somebody goes and writes because he wants news. Now it's a front page. Mdu and Mbalula are fighting. We are not equals. I'm the boss. The other one is a chief whip. He's whipping people in parliament who are not doing the work of the ANC. And that is it. So there's no such. And despite the fact that a journalist calls you, you clarify, says, yeah, but, no, they told me. But I'll write the story. So it's a formality to contact me. You just need my clip there, that we did talk to Mbax. You know, guys, we've been dealing with journalists. Nina, this new crop, no, you know, you just sit behind the desk and chase the headline. No, we've been in the game, no, Gomatot. We've been in the game, we've been dealing with credible journalists. As much as you look at us and you say we don't have credibility, nani bani credibility. No. Journalists must I've never seen journalists who don't respect the line. When you call the SG of the ANC and he tells you, no, there's no such, here is the problem, and all of that, you take him into confidence. No, the guy just go, because he tells the editor. The editors, then they say, because hey, newspapers are not selling. And then, yeah, if Mbalula is fighting with him, dude, this is a nice thing, man. Let's go. And so on. And then they use the laws, ombudsman, right of press, people. I must argue for 5 days. I said, but this is, what is integrity? You want integrity from us? You must also have integrity. You must also, journalists must have integrity. When I tell you, unless you've got proof that SG is lying of the ANC, here is the problem. Because sometimes I might be blaming you, only to find that Mahlengi have said, don't quote me. It's a problem, this one. So the journalist will go with the question, and the journalist will tell the editor, no, it's credible, Chief. I got this story from Mahlengi. He works with Mbax in the office. You don't call me SG when you talk to your boss, you call me Mbax. He works with Mbax in the office, I'm telling you. And then the journalist, the editor goes with the story, says, I stand by my record. There is conflict there. Because somebody has broken rank from our side, and so on. That is also the possibility. That all the time happens with these stories. So, my brother, there's no conflict. We have submitted. We are on track. We have not accused marchers in our statement. Read it. We characterize the problem, and we say, what is it that we must avoid? We are not condemning them, but we're not pulling back on wrongdoing. We can't all, as a nation, keep quiet when other people, because we fear for this and that, allow dangerous populism to erode the democratic standing of our country. We must go around the world explaining ourselves to the United Nations. It looks like it's deliberate to show South Africa as something else. Because I show something that is being circulated now, that no, they were busy with Palestine. They are busy with other things. In their own country, they are failing to deal with their own situation, and so on. Now, we are detailing step by step what are the things that are happening. Yesterday, we attended a meeting in Pretoria, convened by government, including all these NGOs. When we arrived there, they were present. Of course, it's the right thing to do, to talk to people, but they must equally understand what the government is going to do. Because government cannot allow a state of lawlessness. You cannot go to national TV and threaten violence. Who are you? In a democratic state, express your views, criticize government about its ineptness, quote unquote, in dealing with matters of illegal immigrants. But don't call for violence in our country. We know what violence can do. These people who call for violence, look at what they did in June and July unrest, looting here in Joburg and KZN. And now they think, no, this thing is doable. You can go to TV and say that on such and such a date, if you don't move mountains, you will see what will happen. You are inciting violence. Innocent people are going to be, you know how many people we lost in the July unrest? More than 400 South Africans died in that thing. We will never support anarchy-driven activities. We are detailing in our statement, as a matter of principle, what we are supporting. We are not condemning anyone. We are addressing this challenge and what needs to be done to address it. Inspectors is not reactionary. It has been there on the agenda. We are raising it that now it must be accelerated. This issue, it will help us. UFM, when is the process starting? It should have started by now, of recruiting these 10,000 people by the Department of Labor. Network, war on illegal immigration, we have seen that in the public domain. There are many things that are happening there in that protest, which can be characterized as vigilantism, which can be characterized as also populism, which is very dangerous, ethno-nationalism at best, which is hate crime. We can never accept as South Africans that we hate other people. We don't. We are not xenophobic. And when you raise the issue that there is a crisis of illegal immigrants in our country, you are raising the right thing. But you can't take the next step to chase people, beat up people, as though you hate them. That's how the picture is in the world. And in that particular instance, we raise the issue of hate crime law in our country that must be used in that particular instance. But let's not allow these things to happen as though nothing is being done to address some of the issues. We didn't remove a task team, we reduced it. We reduced it in Gauteng. And most of the comrades are still there. So we didn't remove Panyaza, for instance. It's still there, and so on. Section 89, no, President doesn't have to thank us for anything. We're implementing what the courts have said we must do. We've detailed that in our statement, and we're addressing that particular matter. And I've seen people talking about this issue, but we are very clear about Section 89, which you call Pala. So Section 89, in terms of these processes, we are clear what processes we are in. And we have addressed that in a special NEC meeting. The president was not there in that meeting. He did not come. From A to Z, he got a report from me, because he said, because you are going to be discussing a matter that involves me, here are the steps I'm taking. I recuse myself. We granted him. I've explained that. Other political parties discuss their leaders and their things in their presence. Ramaphosa was not there as our president. We, NEC, took a decision after we briefed them on step by step what needs to happen. Now, we've taken a lawful position going forward. And that's what we've done. Even the president have taken a lawful position. So I've heard one of our stalwarts say, what do we want there? And all of that. But dialectics. You can't deal with this matter without dealing with the person. So the party has got to pronounce on the matter like all others. And that's what we have done. The president was not there. He did not ask for anything from us. I briefed him post the meeting as the SG. What is the way forward? And he accepted. And that is it. So the party moved from, first and foremost, an informed position on the issue. Unlike before, where we listen to hearsay, and then we are told that if the president takes this line, you must know that you are incriminating yourself. We were taking up the struggle and on behalf of the president in that particular instance. And we ended up doing wrong things, creating ad hoc committee and saying a pool is a fire pool. So we didn't do that. We follow sound legal process. Luthuli House. It's sound legal process. What does this judgment say to us? Politically, what then do we have to deal with in terms of this process? So we are clear about that particular process, and we called a special NEC meeting in Cape Town to look at the matter, and we pronounce on it. We are now all hands on deck, moving forward, preparing our structures, moving into elections and focusing on what is the real issues that affect our people, as it is reflected in our statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SG. I see that there is a follow-up. One thing that I omitted to mention, to state, SG, is that we are also joined by 116 community stations and print, which is important for the purposes of media diversity, as well as making sure that our communication goes far and wide. I'm going to take ENCA, and we'll come back to Mail and Guardian, and then City Press. Is your hand up, Ms. Swangan? Okay.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kwame. Just a very quick final one. The President has filed papers in the Western Cape High Court, and a very important line that he mentions there towards the end, he basically is saying that if Parliament were to proceed with the impeachment committee, he will then be forced or compelled to interdict that particular process. He says he hopes that Parliament will not proceed. I just want to get your comment there on whether you support the President to interdict or you would wish that Parliament should keep that particular impeachment committee in abeyance until the President's review application is completed. Where do you stand here?
Thank you very much. Lunga?
Basically, what I was asking on the first part was that in the process of the mayoral candidates, have you seen other candidates who are coming from other political parties? You don't have to say where, but have you seen candidates applying who are coming from other political parties?
Thank you. City Press?
Sorry, correction. News 24.
You know, the media door is forever revolving. My apologies. News 24. Thank you.
Nomen Masubino from News 24. SG, one of the things that you emphasize with regard to local government is to clean up the local government. However, there are issues with regard to mayors. There are mayors who have been found wanting by, especially, take for instance in the Northwest, the mayor of Matrosa, who have been found wanting by Section 106 reform. How do you then deal with such people where you now have to interview them again? And then there are people who have been accused of doing things wrongly by your institution, like your party protector, your AGSA. Are you going to take action? What kind of action are you going to take? Because those institutions seem to be working overtime, but their recommendations are not purely implemented because of political intervention somehow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I take it that that's, oh, sorry.
I forgot something. Look, in this state, there's been an issue that has been raised. The council
right, thank you. That should be the very last.
SG, Brighton again from NEC Meeting to Winter. SG, two of my questions was not touched on. The one being, will the immigration issue or the illegal immigration issue hurt the ANC at the ballot box? How do you see that going? And then my question on the ANC and confronting was very specific. It's, why is the task team still necessary? What task do they still need to complete for, let's call it, the chairperson, Spaniel to lead the structure without having to answer to else or through the task team? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. We are done this side. We turn to the SG.
Thank you very much. Let me start first by congratulating Orlando Pirates on winning the league, and of course the big one, Mamelodi Sundowns, for winning CAF. We're talking about winners, guys. Don't elevate mediocrity to something else, you know. We're talking champions. We don't talk about aspirants, because you've got to undergo a particular process. Honestly speaking, congratulations to those teams and Sundowns for breaking the dominance of the North in the CAF competition. Second star is not a child's play. It must be celebrated by all of us, and especially a team in our country. It's always a joy to win the CAF competition, because it's always in the North. And we hope others will invest and also join Sundowns to compete at the highest level in our continent. Muluko, on the papers filled with, the President did, and we agreed with that, so nothing new. The Speaker of Parliament said she will wait, and Parliament will reflect on that in terms of the law. Now we've got an ad hoc committee established, and therefore they will have to pronounce with regard to that, whether they proceed or they wait. And if the interdict is undertaken in court, in itself carries its own implications in terms of the law, in terms of the processes, and so on. Politically, others will say it's a delaying tactic. Even, people who are well known for Stalingrad tactics, they will come and verbose that the President is playing this and that and so on. But you exhaust all the avenues in order to get to the right thing. And we've pronounced on that the President from the onset did file in the Constitutional Court direct right from the inception. So this is not new. It is following up on the matter, and therefore he got a legal advice that the matter is moot, given the fact that Parliament at that time voted for non-continuation of Section 89 impeachment process. Now that it has been brought back by the Constitutional Court, it opens up the issue of reviewing that particular report. And Section 139 of Justice Meyer gives this opportunity to the President to undertake in this particular instance. So it is permissible, something that it is done, both in terms of law and so on, And ever should the interdict be undertaken, it will be in the powers of the president to do that. But we will not understand that as a delaying tactic, like others will seek to suggest, quite conveniently so. It will be to sequence and align processes of this impeachment. The problem South Africans have been told, which again is a distortion, is that the Constitutional Court have directed Parliament to impeach the president. And that is why there was jubilation in certain quarters, because they don't read judgments. Because the judgment did not direct that. It simply dealt with the process of Parliament. And even in that process, as it starts, it does not start with the question of impeachment itself. That on its own is a process. So we must understand that. And I know I'm raising the issue that I'm raising, that somebody is going to say, I've seen some chaps who say they are from law school, UNISA. I saw them on TV there, analyzing the court judgment. I said, my mama. I mean, how can you tell South Africans when you are teaching kids at university law and say the things that other people were saying live? And one of them was interviewed by you, Muloko. He's from UNISA. And then I listened to Chris Calland, a professor, very consistent. I listened to Judge for Yourself, proper people. Talking law, the educating society. Our brothers were lost. When you analyze for society and you deal with the matter of law, because not all of us understand it, you must be candid to give people the facts so that they make decisions on the basis of the facts in terms of law. What is your interpretation in terms of what must actually happen? And when I saw our people faltering online about what exactly Constitutional Court said we must do, it became a real disappointment, in a sense. But nonetheless, it was balanced with people who put across, no, these things that are going to happen in this following sequence are happening because in terms of law, they are permissible. And that is it. And the issue of resignation never arose, even in that court, about the president and so on. But other people went on and on to debate the merits of the case, whereas the court itself even never ventured into that. I suppose that is the last step in the many steps we are going to cross about this impeachment matter, about the president. And then I saw others on podcasts, even debating. There are people who are bored, and some of them are stalwarts. I mean, just bored at home. You call them, they go to, who's that chap? And then they make comments. And some of them are very, very disappointing because they are stalwarts of the ANC. We are here at Lutuli House. They never call, they never come, but hey, they are fasting podcasts to condemn. They condemn us every day to the point where they become oppositional to the ANC. To them, there is nothing good we are doing. And we are holding back because our task now is very difficult. If we're going to focus on ourselves, it's going to be a big challenge. But it's not correct that everything that they say cannot go unchallenged. We are close to taking them on factually on the distortions they are making in polluting the public discourse, irrespective of the fact that they are stalwarts of the ANC. But this borders not only on discipline, but on eroding the cohesion of the movement. I mean, Tokyo goes and talk about succession debate, his preferences and all of that. Who cares about that? We're busy here about winning elections. He can come with that view next year. It's open. He goes and talks. Nobody in the ANC is preoccupied with that. We have managed to marshal our structures in a particular direction. How? Vumbuluke ntweni nje. Ngathi ngumavuke engceni. Uyahamba boom, 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 boom. No, that man is lying. This is a lie. This is this and that. It's fine. If anybody is lying, you will be subjected to a process, whatever that is the case. And each process of accountability have got its own consequences. So we know what will actually happen. But now this thing is unfair on the ANC. It's unfair on the ANC, and I wish to tell them, one by one, we are going to remind them who they are. What they did in this country, it's not going to be fair to them. When they were leading the ANC, they were given space. You know Nelson Mandela? He had views about AIDS in this country, but he chose to keep quiet. He came to the ANC, this building. I was at number 7. He came here. He called me and Malusi and said, why are you quiet on this AIDS thing? This is my position. Mandela, he didn't go to the press. He never addressed the media. He said, I've got my child who's dying of AIDS. All I'm asking is that society is dying. Do the following. Mandela came here. After addressing us, he went to the NWC of the ANC. I was in a meeting where Mandela addressed the ANC NEC, and he left at lunch, and I had lunch with him at Gallagher Estate. Nelson Mandela, a disciplined leader of the ANC, he was told in that meeting, Madiba Goduka, you have give Comrade Thabo Mbeki a chance to lead. He left, he was bitter. He never went to the press. So let's not do this to the ANC. If Cyril as a president is failing, call him. Give him a chance. Don't denigrate him in society. He is not infallible. He's not infallible. Ramaphosa is not infallible. He can be addressed like a child. But this is his time, and is his last time, last dance. And he has led in difficult periods. They led the ANC, they did everything. They never had state capture before them. They never had COVID before them. They never had inherited a collapsing economy, which was messed up later on. And that is why some of us, we said, when they said 9 wasted years about Jacob Zuma, we said, be careful, because in that 9 years, there are good things that happened. Because if you are not principled, it is not Zuma who carried the flag of the ANC in 9 years. It is the ANC. Along the way, when Zuma was committing mistakes, where were we? We came back and we said we veered away. Yes, we did commit mistakes. We are on the mend. Society gave us 57%. You cannot lead the country by being unprincipled and by attacking those who are in leadership and showing disregard, denigrate them, bring them down. And then you still say that organization is our organization. It's not possible. The ANC can't defend itself against its opponents and its enemies and the immediate family. You can't. The immediate family is the most dangerous because it's the most reasonable voice society is going to listen to. If tomorrow I retire from the ANC, I tell you that the ANC is corrupt, between me and my money as the opposition, who's going to be believed? It's me, because I was there leading the ANC. It's us who tell society, despite this record we are giving, pushing back corruption in our country. Some of our people speak like as if the needle is not moving. Nothing has been done. Everything is just there. Cyril is going to leave ANC as a president of the ANC. He will have left his legacy, but he leads with a collective, and he will probably live with some of us. and you will probably say good riddance. But today, we are leading the ANC. And we're not defending ourselves and say we're doing everything right. But we are here in this building, prepared to listen to everyone. But every day we are being shouted, we are being told that we are nothing as leadership by our own comrades. And I don't want to mention them. By our own comrades, our own leaders, who dare never to come here or call us into our homes because we can travel, we are still young. They are showboating or whatever that you can call it. Go to podcasts, talk about the ANC. They never talk about development of this country. What do they think in their view could work for South Africa's economy if we were to listen to them? You know, Padili Utla, I listen to him and I like to criticize that old man, but he brings facts on the table. He doesn't always just, he will say this, and who's that one of ESCOM? He has kept quiet since then Marokana arrived there. But he was also criticizing and say, but I believe the Reiter is not doing things right. But he will come with alternatives. Dan Marokana arrived, implemented there. Where are we with ESCOM today? And we defended and supported Dan Marokana because we knew he came from ESCOM. He was a black African civil servant who was working at ESCOM for the longest of time. Even before he was employed, they said that they are bringing another useless person. And we corrected them. Dan Marokana was never in the books of the Guptas. Where is ESCOM today? With executives that are there and the board. Bomteto, Nyati, they are doing a brilliant job. We've been listening to the Reiter here and all of that, telling us no, just transition means we must do things in a different way. And then coal montage is a fossil dinosaur. We said, but you must balance these things. But where are we today? So, ladies and gentlemen, I am saying that we are on track, and at the same time, the leadership of the ANC have been under attack, tremendous attack, which when you are leadership, you must be attacked. But at the same time, we have to respond to some of the attacks that have been leveled against not only the leadership, but against the ANC itself. Lunga, candidates from other parties. I don't know who gave you the idea that they are candidates from other parties. There shouldn't be candidates from other parties. There will be candidates who are not necessarily ANC, who will come from a membership of society in general. That's what we need to deal with. Norman is right about mayors who are doing wrong things. There are many, some of them, who think they are untouchables. We have started with another one in Northwest. He went to court, but there is no court that will decide who must be a public rep. We're dealing with that issue, including the ones we are talking about. We have said in our report here clearly, in terms of local government, Northwest in the next 7 days will give us stabilization plan. And that includes people who are affected or who are undermining that stabilization plan at the level of the mayors. We'll deal with that. So, Norman, you must be rest assured that our clarion call that we must deal with these issues, we'll deal with them. Will illegal immigration hurt us at the polls? No, it will not hurt us because we are principled. We are very clear dealing with this, but we are not populist, going around beating up people. It's a very easy task of populists that can be done. It's a work of people who basically have got nefarious intentions and all of that and seek to undermine the image of the country. What South Africans must respect is the rule of law and call on the state to intervene in terms of the laws. So we're very clear about that. Populism will fade away like paraffin. You know, it comes now and tomorrow it is gone. We must stay the course. Yes, we must deal with the problem. The problem is well known. Undocumented foreign nationals in any country, like here in South Africa, it's a problem of national security for that country. It must be dealt with by the state. Task team. No, task teams are established by ANC Constitution as a replacement, not as a replacement. Task teams are established in order to act as provincial executive committees till the time comes where a conference will be convened to elect a new leadership. But that task team will function with all powers of the PC and do all the work that is expected of the PC. So what happened in Gauteng is that task team, its term of office came to an end, and we're renewing that mandate. And in doing so, we had to trim the task team, which is what we have done. We have sent other comrades, others are deployed elsewhere, and then we have trimmed the task team so that it is able to discharge its responsibilities. So if you are 200 in a task team, other people are just passengers, and therefore you don't see the capability of others. And you might be pulling 200 people with 10 people, and you think that the strength of the task team is in the numbers. In order for you to do a good work, you've got to have numbers of people you can see, you can manage. Look at KZN. We are able now to manage what we are dealing with there. And we look at also the capabilities of our structures in the regions. We are able to coordinate them. But there were over 100, almost 100, and we thought we were doing the work. Other people were just loafing and not assigned specific responsibilities. But now we are able to see our task team is working. Somebody was saying, no, it's a Ferrari. Of course it is. So, exactly. So it's an Austin Martin, whatever. So we are pulling in the right direction there. So these task teams, we deal with them in order to treat them to be able to be manageable, but at the same time to live up to the expectation of doing the work that is assigned to them. Thank you very much. Yeah.
This will probably, no, there can't be a third round. This will probably go down in history as one of the longest press briefings of the ANC. But thank you very much, colleagues, for being here. We are adjourned. Thank you, SG.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are not trusted. So you come to the somebody was saying on Facebook, he was saying, hey, the scariest thing, some girl was saying, the scariest thing of dating guys is Joburg. So that we wake up.